The question for older students is a very important question, especially for high school students. If you take the high school students who come here and you give them this program for a whole year and you don't give them the courses they need for grade level promotion and graduation, essentially what this Proposition 227 does is make high school a 5-year program for children who don't speak English because they will not get the course credits they need to graduate. That will crowd our schools, that will add to the school budget, and that will deny children access to the courses that they deserve at their grade level. It's another example of how this proposition is a simple response to a very complex issue that school districts need the individual control to design what's best for their kids. We're saying here that we have good programs, we have programs that need improvement. This will make it worse.
All right, bad news is you're out of time. The good news is it's your turn. Another question came in from Craig from Los Gatos. Craig asked, considering that no other industrialized nation teaches its immigrants using bilingualism, these same nations continually outperform us on international academic tests. Is bilingual education handicapping California students?
Well, you know, it's not true that no other industrial nation teaches bilingual education. We have examples from all over the world. In Mexico, with the various languages that some of the indigenous populations speak, they have a variety of bilingual programs in Spanish and in the indigenous languages. In Germany, for the Turkish immigrants who come there, we have Turkish-German bilingual programs. In Sweden, for the Finnish immigrants that immigrate there, we have Finnish-Swedish programs. So we are not the only place that has it. But what we don't have in any other place around the world is a 180-day magical program that makes kids fluent in English in 180 days. This would be the only place. Mr. Unz and Mr. Vega cannot point to one classroom, one school where this has a proven track record, and we're going to mandate it for every child. It's a travesty.
Let's give them the chance.
Okay, the answer to that is that the person who called in the question was 100% right. There is no other major nation in the world with a large immigrant population that uses these bilingual programs. They all teach children the national language immediately in exactly the sort of short-term intensive language programs that our initiative talks about. In fact, most of the programs in these other nations are 1 year, just like our initiative proposes. We're not talking about one country. We're talking about Germany and France and Britain and Australia and Canada, and in Israel. In Israel, children enter the public schools speaking 60 different languages. They are not taught in their family's language. They are all taught Hebrew right away, and it works well. America is unique in trying this failed system of bilingual education. Nobody else tries it because it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, as you can see from the data here in California.
All right, thank you, sir. Laura, you have the next question.
And this is for the supporters of Proposition 227. Now, Proposition 227 allows parents to sue teachers, in the words of the proposition, who willfully and repeatedly refuse to obey the law and teach children in English. Does this set up school districts and teachers for time-consuming, costly lawsuits?
Absolutely not. But the reason that provision is necessary is because this initiative began when I read articles in Los Angeles Times about a group of immigrant Latino parents in downtown Los Angeles who actually had to start a public boycott of their local elementary school because it refused to allow their children to learn English. Now, under current law in California, bilingual education is voluntary. It is not mandatory in law, but it is mandatory in practice. What we do is give parents the right to enforce our initiative by requiring the schools to teach their children English. And I think those teachers or those administrators or those elected officials who refuse to obey the law, repeatedly and willfully refuse to obey the law, should be under threat of legal sanction, and they will be.
Rebuttal, please.
Actually, we think that teachers should spend more time in the classroom rather than the courtroom. And what Proposition 227 will do for the first time ever is allow teachers, allow school districts, allow principals to be sued just for trying to do their job, just for trying to teach children English. Proposition 227 will also take and impose across the state of California a single law that dictates how children will be taught English, whether that program works for them or not. It will limit children to just 180 days of English instruction and allow teachers to be sued just for speaking in any language other than English.
All right, thank you. Rosie, you have the next question.
If Proposition 227 passes, what do you think the likelihood is that it will become law, given the fact that a lot of the most controversial propositions that have been passed in California are now still in the courts?
Rosie, I'm glad that you asked that question. And right now, all of our time is going to defeating this initiative. And we can see even from Ron Unz's own polls, he was just quoted in the San Jose Mercury News as saying that his own polling shows that he only has 54 percentage point support for this measure. So we are going to be spending every second of the next 2 days, 3 days, getting people out, urging them to please vote on June 2nd and to vote no on Proposition 227.
All right, thank you, rebuttal.
To be honest, the other side is making up ridiculous facts about the initiative. Let's look at the details. The Clinton administration has already reviewed our initiative and already said to the Chronicle that it was absolutely constitutional. The Ninth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals in Guadalupe versus Tempe already ruled that there is no federal requirement for bilingual education. Initiatives are always challenged in court once they pass, but the chance of any significant challenge to our initiative is nil. If the voters vote for our initiative, it will become the law, and all children in California will have the right, after all these years, to be taught English as soon as they begin school, and that's necessary for our state. We need a common language to be taught to children in California public schools, and that will happen if people vote for our initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Unz. We are very quickly running out of time, so let's move on now to the closing statements from each side. Each side has 60 seconds to respond. Now, based on a coin flip that was held before the debate, the people against Prop 227 will speak first. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. On June 2nd, you will have the opportunity to determine the future of California's 1.4 million limited English-speaking children. And what we're asking you is to give these kids a chance. Don't limit them to just 180 days of English instruction when everywhere this program has been tried, it shows that children need more time. Don't deny them education in core curriculum. Don't keep them 1 year behind in math, science, and history and 1 grade behind every other child simply because they showed up at the schoolhouse door and didn't know English. Don't put them in a classroom with teachers who can be sued if they just try and do their job and teach them English. And don't make taxpayers spend more money. Don't pass the biggest government spending program that we've seen in years. Don't allocate an additional $50 million a year every year to individuals who pledge to tutor a child for English but don't even have to ever do that. Join the California League of Women Voters, the PTA, the CTA, and every candidate for governor and Mayor Willie Brown in voting no on Proposition 227.
Ms. Thier, thank you. You're out of time, Mr.
Okay.
Unz. The closing statement, please.
Look at the facts. The opposition campaign is so desperate. They're making up the most ridiculous lies and distortions of our initiative. Read the initiative, read the voter pamphlet. You'll see who's telling the truth. Right now, we have a system of tremendous failure in California. 95% of the children each year who start a given school year not knowing English have not learned it at the end of that school year. Those are the official government statistics from the Office of Bilingual Instruction. Instead, let's teach children English. What we call bilingual education in California often amounts to Spanish-only instruction, with the children being given 30 minutes or an hour of English a day. It doesn't help them learn English. These children need to learn English to succeed in our society, and unless you vote for our initiative, nothing will change in the current system. It's your one chance to make sure that children in California are given the educational tools they need to succeed in our society, and knowledge of English is one of them. Our initiative does allow successful bilingual programs to continue, but almost none of them are successful.
All right, Mr. Unz, we are out of time with that. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the spokespeople from both sides of Proposition 227 for joining us tonight, as well as our two journalists. It was a pleasure and informative. And we'd like to remind you that our guests will be continuing this debate on KGO Radio 810, starting in just a couple of minutes at 7 o'clock, continuing until 8 o'clock tonight, so be sure to tune in. We certainly hope that you found this discussion informative. We hope you'll vote on Tuesday and join us for our election coverage. I'm Dan Ashley. Thanks for joining us, and good night.